Hello and welcome to tutorial number 1 in the CB Query plugin series. The CB Query plugin is an add-on that's available to professional members, and it really gives you quite a bit of flexibility to actually create new fields that get their values from queries, and also allows you to validate existing fields against query selections. So this is the kickoff tutorial, and let's just start by installing the plugin. Just find it here. Yeah, this is my area here. Query field 4.0.4 is the current version. So if I just install it, I get a success message. If I close here, I should see CB Query Field plugin here, 4.04, and I've published it also. Okay, so what this does basically is, if I go to the field management area and select to add a new field, I will see the global parameters, the field types here. If I scroll towards the end, I will see a set of new field types: query, query checkbox multiple, query dropdown multi-select, query dropdown single select, and query radio buttons. So there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new field types here. I will be covering these field types in a follow-up session, but another thing I will notice is even in the text field, when I add a new text field here, or any field type, I will see the integration tab has a new query field area that actually allows us to select the validation to enable query field validation for this value, for this field. So there are actually a lot of applications, a lot of use cases that can be solved with this specific validation. One of which is, for example, a unique field. There have been people that want to create a text field or an integer field, whatever, and allow their users to have unique values in that field. So for example, we can have a membership ID that is unique, meaning that if user A has a specific number, then no other user could have that number. Or maybe an alias. Okay, so that's what I've done basically here. I'm giving an example. I have created a CB underscore alias field. And let's just see what this looks like here. It's actually, let's go from the start. It's actually a text field. It's on the contact info tab. I can move it anywhere I want. I have marked it required. It's not read-only, so users can change it. Show on profile, show during registration, and editing. And then nothing in the parameters area I've touched here. In the integrations tab, if I go to the CB query field now, I've enabled query validation. And this is what I'm doing here is basically I'm looking at the comp profiler table, and I'm trying to find a row in that table where the CB alias value equals the value that has been actually populated in the form. So what this does, instead of select, instead of select ID, it could have been select count or whatever, but this will work. Now, let me just show you what my comp profiler table looks like here. When you have a website, you should know that there's a database underneath, and that database is actually something that you should start getting familiar with, because it'll really help you implement new features, and you need to understand how things work. So this is the database of my CB tutorial site, and I'm looking actually in the comp profiler table here. And these are all my rows here, my users. So we see the first name, last name, and so on. Middle name is null. And all their extra information, if I scroll to the right, each column is basically a field. So if I scroll to the end, actually, I see I've added my CB alias column. And I've also have one user here that has a value of Ringo in it. Okay, I actually prepared this before I started recording. So we see that we have one user in the database that has the value Ringo for this alias field. Okay, let's get rid of that now. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually trying to select from that comprofiler table. And what this does here is the pound, the number sign, underscore, underscore will basically be substituted during execution with the prefix of your database table. So you don't really have to remember that. And I'm basically checking to find if there is another row where the CB is, if there is a row in this table where the CB alias column equals to the value that's been input in this field. And what I'm saying is, if I want this field to validate on empty results. So if there's no other field with this value, the validation will be okay. So basically, I'm allowing a user to input a value that nobody else has used. And I'm actually giving, but if this query does not return an empty result, that means somebody else has been found using this alias value. And what I want to do here is basically give an error message. I'm saying this alias is already in use. Okay, and this is key here. I'm enabling Ajax validation. I could disable it or enable it. It's disabled by default. I've enabled it here. And let's just save this. Now let's look what the end result is. Let me go to my website, sign up, and I see on my registration form I have this your unique alias. Now this is a required field. That's why there's a star here. Field is required. So if I just tab through it, I will get a message, this field is required. If I type some value like Superman, for example, it's my alias, and tab, there's no problem. But if I type the value Ringo, I've seen that it's been used, and I tab, I'll see a message saying this alias is already in use. Okay, and this validation, of course, also holds true when somebody wants to change their value. They will not be able to change their value to something that's already used. So this basically, this is just one use case application of the query validation that the query field plugin gives you. And there are others that I'll be covering in follow-up tutorials. In the comments of the video, I'll be posting the select statement and the values, but you can also see them as I've specified them here. Okay, it's simple basically. Well, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next series. Bye-bye.